Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be talking about the memeification of climate change. Now here on my channel we believe in climate change, but I don't believe in climate doomism, which is basically we're all... Is it 30 seconds yet? Can I say we're all fucked anyway, so why should we even try? I believe there is a point in trying to slow down climate change and to help the environment restore itself to its natural, healthy state. But I believe a lot of us give in to climate doomism, and I am also guilty of that. It can be very difficult. And what I mean by the memeification of climate change is we've all seen memes about it, I'm pretty sure. Especially lately with the wildfires in Canada, with the record-breaking heat around the world, we have seen memes about how fucked we are and how this is basically just how it's gonna be. But I would argue that's not helpful and it's not a healthy way to react. I understand that a lot of us cope by using dark humor, by joking about serious topics when we feel out of control. But and I'm gonna bring up a meme real quick on my iPad so I can read it out to you and tell you why I think it is messed up. So this is a meme that I found on Facebook from somebody I am friends with, and I'm not gonna out them because I don't think they're a bad person. I think they're guilty of climate doomism like the rest of us. Like, I'm not acting like I'm better than anybody because I have been there. But I'm making this video because I understand the hurt that comes when we post memes like this and why we post it. And this is from a page called The Darker Side of Science, and it's, you know, that woman that tested out in Kombucha a bunch of years ago now, and the first pic is her making a face like this summer could be one of the hottest on record. And then it shows her making a face like, I like that one. And this summer could be one of the coolest summers for the rest of your life. So here's the thing. Sharing memes like that does not change anything. And I'm not saying everything you do has to be activism, but I will say sharing memes like that just spreads doom and gloom and makes everybody feel like shit. Which climate change does have us feeling like shit. I've seen a lot of news articles about how climate change affects mental health. There is a thing called climate anxiety or eco-anxiety, and I definitely have that. And another meme I saw was a meme of the guy Mr. O'Hare from The Lorax, if you remember that movie. And it shows him, I believe he's in his private jet. It's been a while since I watched that movie, but you know, the guy Mr. O'Hare owns a company called O'Hare Air, where he basically sells the world fresh air because the air quality is so terrible that you need to buy bottled air, which is a terrifying concept. And that movie filled me with existential dread and anxiety as a child But I'm not blaming that movie for that. I just had a lot of anxiety as a child, and I still have a lot of anxiety as an adult. But the meme is him sitting in his private jet, and this was back when the sky in New York City was bright orange from the out of control wildfires in Canada. And the meme said, "I don't know what's going on here, but I know this guy has something to do with it." My issue with this meme is twofold. Number one, it is very simplistic. The reason why the Lorax is simplistic is because it is a movie for children. It makes climate change and capital greed digestible for children. And I'm not saying it needs to be more complex than that, because it doesn't, because again, it's for children, and it breaks down these serious topics in a way that most children can understand it. But in reality, there isn't one billionaire in the world who's causing all this. There are a bunch of billionaires causing this, and even our government is involved in it by greenlighting projects like Project Willow, which is going to drill in Alaska and wreak havoc on the environment, and a bunch of indigenous people and other activists are fighting against it, but President Biden did sign off on it, so it looks like it's gonna happen, which terrifies me. But my point in saying all this is not, oh, look at all this shit going on in the world, because yeah. But my point more so is that it's not one bad, evil guy. It's a bunch of things, and we do have some control of it, albeit little control, but we do have some control. We can fight for legislation, we can support organizations of people doing the groundwork, grassroots activism, and things can be different. I think a lot of the memeification of climate change oversimplifies it and fills us with a sense of dread and helplessness. And I know a lot of us feel that dread and helplessness most of the time when we watch the news. And this is where we come into the concept of climate doomism, and I am going to be reading off of my iPad because I saved this post from a woman, I believe her name is pronounced Jessica Hleska. I really hope I'm saying that right, but let me read her page first so I can get this right. She is a climate psychologist, activist, and writer, and she is the director of research at New Zero World. So she's a big climate activist, and she focuses a lot on dealing with climate anxiety and how climate change can harm our mental health. So the main thing on the post says how climate doomism harms our movement and what we can do about it. And the second post says climate doomism is the idea that we're past the point of being able to fight climate breakdown and that humanity is likely to go extinct. Doomism often comes in waves after major events such as the heat wave in Europe or a new IPCC report. Doomism is most common in Western countries who are least affected by climate impacts. Doomism is counterproductive and ignores the lived reality of people around the world who are already affected by climate change and do not have the luxury of giving up. So that is very true. A lot of times in the Western world, we're sitting in our ivory tower and being like, well, I don't want to give up what I have, so I'm not gonna even try. When there are people in countries around the world that are being killed by deadly floods and heat waves and just a bunch of issues that we are only starting to face. And now it is examples of doomism in the media. Soon the world will be unrecognizable. Is it still possible to prevent total climate meltdown? Climate endgame. Risk of human extinction dangerously underexplored. What comes after the coming climate anarchy, which makes it seem like climate anarchy is inevitable, which is terrifying if you really believe that, and I really hope that's not the case. Collapse of civilization is the most likely outcome. Top climate scientists. Major climate change is inevitable and irreversible. IPCC's starkest warning yet. And now it says, and now she's like showing how the media doesn't necessarily cover this in an unbiased way. Instead, it sensationalizes this to freak people out and to get more clicks. But this says the media can misrepresent scientific opinion for clickbait. And so now they're showing the headline, soon the world will be unrecognizable. Is it still possible to prevent total climate meltdown? And then there is a tweet from a scientist who has something to say about this. And his name is Bill McGuire, and he says, just wanted to say the total climate meltdown is the headline writer, not me. I guess he was quoted in this article, so now he's giving his side of the story. I don't say this, nor does the article. And I still believe we can avoid climate cataclysm if we act now. He accidentally wrote is we act now, but I believe he meant if by that. But, and then it shows the other headline that says climate change, more studies needed on the possibility of human extinction. And someone by the name of Laura Young was quoted in this article, and she tweeted, I'm quoted in this BBC News article, but I'd like to add the second part of what I submitted, which didn't make the cut for the article. Catastrophic events must be explored, but explored alongside the solutions and potential futures we could reach if action is taken now. A hopeful future must be illustrated just as much as the current future reality to inspire action and fuel positive action. And on the next slide, it says, Doomism harms our movements by demotivating us. Why act if it's too late anyway? Delegitimizing us by misrepresenting scientific consensus and undermining long-term strategic organizing, and deprioritizing justice. Those those at the front line of climate impacts don't have the luxury of just giving up, and Western nations have a historical responsibility to take climate action. And on the next slide, it says, reactions to climate doomism follow the biopsychological fight, flight, freeze model of stress. Fight, extreme activism to the point of burnout. Flight, denial, avoidance, and distraction, which I think I am mostly guilty of the flight, but also freeze too. And then the freeze is overwhelm, fear, inability to act. And on the next slide it says 3 consequences of doomism. Inaction. Fear-oriented messaging can lead to fatigue, denial, apathy, and avoidance. Eco-anxiety. By affecting our mental health, doomism limits our ability to act and build strong movements. Eco-fascism. By giving way to unscientific ideologies around overpopulation and humans are a virus. Climate doomism plays directly into the hands of elites who benefit the most from the status quo, those who do not want us to take action. To resist means to choose hope. What to do instead? Be nuanced. Strike a balance between conveying the urgency of the climate crisis, but stressing the importance and potential of climate action. Be hopeful. There is hope, and the solutions we need are already out there. The only thing that's missing is political will. This is something we can change. Organize in your local community, school, university, work, or remotely. Every single person counts, and we need you to join the climate movement. And here is a quote by Rebecca Solnit from Hope in the Dark. Your opponents would love you to believe that it's hopeless, that you have no power, that there's no reason to act, that you can't win. Hope is a gift. You don't have to surrender, a power you don't have to throw away. So, as Jessica Leska says, climate doomism is counterproductive. It's bad for our mental health, and it doesn't help fight climate change. Another thing, I'm a bit hesitant to add to this video because I have been looking tirelessly for where I found this, and so far I've come up with nothing, but hopefully before I finish editing this video I can find where I found this. But I saw something someone wrote that was talking about the book The Lord of the Flies, and how many people who are cynical, especially Western, like from Western countries, will say things like humanity is inherently bad and we're inherently greedy, and that's not the case. We have seen in different places around the world, and even in Western countries, where there are good people who are doing good things. It's just that we let the people with bad intentions and who are greedy, we let them get too much power. So I do not believe climate breakdown is inevitable. I have to have hope to keep going. I think all of us do. If not, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Sometimes I feel like wanting to work in the entertainment industry is fruitless because it's another one of the industries that is destroying the planet. But I want to go about entertainment from a different angle that does not take from the earth and never give back. I want to write stories about hope. And that's the reason I fell in love with entertainment and YouTube, is it helped me escape from my existential anxiety and dread that I've had since I was a little kid, and I think many of us have had this. Now I want to go into a bit about the Lorax and some of the feelings I have about it. So I think the book is great. Even the movie, I think, is good. But back in May, I went to Universal Studios on vacation with some of my online friends, people that are also influencers, which is kind of ironic that I'm an influencer talking about this, but I believe more influencers need to talk about this. So I'm just gonna lead by example and do my best to do my part. And Universal has this whole like Dr. Seuss section, which it includes the Lorax. And to escape the hot Florida heat, me and a few of my friends, we went into a little shop where there was all like Lorax memorabilia. And this just struck me about how ironic it is that for a movie about the dangers of commercialization and consumerism and capitalism, there's all this merch, all these stuffed toys and t-shirts and mugs and magnets, and I'm not saying you're inherently bad if you buy any of this. I'm just struck by how ironic it is for a movie that is about the dangers of commercialization and capitalism to use that to make a profit for Universal. And I think that's where a lot of cynicism comes from, is that a lot of the very people preaching about this directly benefit from things that harm the environment. And that is why I've never really liked Leonardo DiCaprio, because here he is, this man lecturing us about the dangers of climate change when he himself owns a yacht, and I would assume he probably owns a private jet, but I don't know that for sure, so that's alleged. But he himself has a much larger carbon footprint than the majority of people, even people in Western countries who have a significantly larger carbon footprint than people in developing countries. So he has one of the biggest carbon footprints, obviously not more than like Jeff Bezos and all of those Elon Musk types, but I think the very people who lecture us about climate change should take a look in the mirror, and they should consider leading by example. None of us are perfect. I flew in a plane to go to Florida. It was not a private plane. I flew with everybody else. But I still flew in a plane which I know is really bad and pollutes the environment. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not here sitting on my high horse or being like, oh, I'm better than all you people. You don't give a shit about the environment. But I am saying we should all try to do better. You should all try to fight for legislation. We should all try to take small steps in our life, even if they seem minuscule, like the compost pile I have in my backyard. Like, that seems like a very small thing, and it is when big corporations are the main issue. But I would still like to feel like I have some control. I really want to drive home that cynicism doesn't help us. It makes us feel more powerful and in control, because then we're like, oh, the world is falling apart, but I don't give a shit. But that doesn't help anybody, even if it gives you a sense that you're indestructible and you're stoic and smarter and better than all these stupid little sheep that are scared. It doesn't make a difference in the world. I am not a religious person, but I would like to believe that David can triumph over Goliath, that even these smaller, powerless people can make a change and say, this is not the world we need to live in, and the world can be different. And I mean, I'm just a girl on the internet. I'm not a scientist, but I would like to believe that there are people smarter than me and better than me that are leading the movement, and hopefully I can be of use to them in whatever small way they may need. I'm not saying I have all the answers at all, because trust me, I do not. And in my therapy, I always talk about how out of control I feel. But I wanted to make this video to tell people they're not alone, and also to hopefully give hope. I'm gonna try to link some resources down below. The ironic thing about all this is I am wearing an outfit today that was fully thrifted. I'm a big fan of thrifting, and I've been trying to buy less stuff. It's not really working out. I grew up in a very materialistic society, so it's a work in progress, and I know we're all working, and so keep up the good fight. And I hope you learned something from this video. I hope maybe I inspired some hope. Maybe I made you think more before you share a meme like that may cause more harm than good. And so thank you for watching, and please give it a big thumbs up, because that does help with the algorithm, because I do feel like a video like this may be suppressed by the algorithm. I'm not saying it will be, but I'm also not saying it won't be. But anyway, I hope to see you again next time, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.